Hello Blender folks, welcome and welcome back. I'm pxy-gnomes. This is no new method, but I like it very much because it uses relatively simple bendy bones setup, which I call a fake IK rig. Mainly because this is what it does look like to me. This would be some sort of master IK controller bone for the tongue, and then I would have these tweak bones which can detail the posing. And there's no need of any curve object, of any spline IK bone constraint or inverse kinematics bone constraint, nor auto IK option. So it's purely achieved with bendy bones, which are a special unique feature of Blender, which contain an inbuilt curve. This is why we can make a bendy bone spline which connects that curve to two control points. And so this would be a bendy bone spline or bendy bone set. And here would have another one, and they are connected together in this kind of setup. This whole thing here would be what I call one bendy bone spline sequence. I've put this bendy bone spline sequence in the deform rig, even though only the bendy bones here, these two ones, are deform bones. These little tip bones, tweak or control bones, sometimes even mechanism bones, doesn't matter, they are non-deform bones. But to simplify, I put all this inside the deform rig bone layer, and this is the head bone, a deform bone. Note that in this rig I have another bone layer of mechanism bones containing another entire sequence of bendy bone splines. Hold on, there is something wrong about... what is this? Actually, this is not a sequence, this is only one bendy bone spline. And this is a special bone used to make the magic trick. So this would be what we call a buffer bone, and this is what makes this entire rig intermediary rig. But if we get this thing right, then we can do a lot of things with that. For example, a fake IK rig for the spine led by the head bone. And then we have the tweak bones, which are sort of controllers for the tips or handles of the bendy bones. The tweak bones are optional, and the difference from the handles is that we can already have bones that are oriented orthogonal to world space or something else, and that might be more favorable for determining certain bone constraints in the case we need that. So sometimes this is more interesting to have. So this is a parent offset. So the tweak controls the handle. If the handles are parent offset to the tweak bones on their turn are parent offset to their respective mechanism handle. Even this one, which is not exactly a handle, this tweak bone in the middle, if we reset, each one will find the positioning of its parent. Then highest on the hierarchy, you have these master main or control bones here. This one would be some sort of F key for our kinematics, and this one would be the fake I key. And so while these bones, they can control the big curve, the mechanism bendy bone spline here, we can also disable that or keyframe that to have something like that maybe. The tweak bone themselves allow for this offsetting for this lower hierarchical bendy bone spline sequence. So this is extremely versatile, handy, and not too difficult to set up. As for the parenting system, this handle, this fake handle are parented to this master here, while this handle is parented to the fake IK. On their turn, the master bones here, they are parented to a head bone maybe. Okay, so let's rig this almost from scratch. Let's assume we already have an object, a tongue, whichever mesh thing that we want to rig this way. Let's go on edit mode. Let's grab this vertex here exactly at the center, and let's move the cursor towards it. Now apparently I don't see any armature here, but I have an armature. Let's look at it in the outliner. So click here and we see if we have the bone manager add-on or extension, but I still see no bones there. Let's pick an old collection here or bone layer, and here let's grab this head bone, and for me it's bone collections. I've placed this Alt M shortcut for move collection, so I'll just Alt M this into this new bone layer here, and so I'll be working on these 4 bone layers here. So here's the head bone, so now we can start working on the skeleton. Let's hide this head bone, H, Shift A to add a new bone here, scale down. You see I'm using the display as B-bone, bendy bone, so that we'll be able to see the segments, so I'm not using octahedral here, and axis fundamental. And note that I can use this bone envelope here to change what is called the B-bone scale. It's a transform here, scale B-bone, and I've placed this as Shift Control Alt A. I don't know the original shortcut. This allows us to get more variation on the bones, and this can be very useful even if we're not using bendy bones. And for some reason this doesn't work, I don't know why, but this is the one that is working on this Blender version. So this will be my first bendy bone handle, so I'll just call it maybe tip, that is arbitrary. So let's control tongue 0.001, rotate on the x-axis 90 degrees, then Alt R to reset rolls, scale here. We don't want the axis here to be too small, but we also don't want this handle to be too elongated, so going just to find somewhere that is good enough, maybe somewhere about this value here. I don't want these handles to be aligned orthogonally, so let's try to follow the shape with them. The tweak bones later will fix that. There are many add-ons or extensions or methods to make bendy bones splines easierly, but I'm gonna do manually simple stuff. It's not a lot of bendy bone splines to make, so we can check this bone here for a certain length. So you see, we can generalize these lengths, at least for the handles of this sequence. If we want, we can look here in the bone tab, the bendy bones panel. We can find this display size. This is the B-bone display size. Drag the mouse here and we can actually, let's give it 0.05. Okay, then align view. Let's select this bone, extrude. It is aligned here. Then extrude here again. So this will be another of these handles. So instead I could maybe just duplicate this. It's already the same. Then duplicate here. We got some wrong names here. So let's change this to def tongue 001. Shift D. Don't lose this, but just hold Control, and the vertex snap, make sure this is disabled, include non-edited, so the tongue won't interfere, the tongue mesh. Hold Control and let's try to match here. The positioning here anyways, let's pick all these together. Here the best thing on edit mode is to use medium point, but sometimes, yeah, it is working. Maybe here more to the middle, yes, something like that. This is proper, yeah, this is snapped. So I'm gonna pick these 2 bendy bones. Let's just make, hold Alt 5. This I don't need to give any particular value, but could be 0.01, hold Alt, there we go. The names are not good here, so let's just copy this and change here, paste here, 0.003. For the parenting, yes, we need to Alt P, disconnect parent here. This is parented to, oh, it's, okay, let's unparent this, nothing. Right, so parent this, Control P, keep offset to the previous handle. And here leave unparented until we got higher hierarchy here. So just the bendy bones are parent offset to their respective start handle. Pick this, select both, let's change with hold alt automatic to absolute and same here. Then let's F2 Control C here, start handle, Control V, and handle, well, can click here now, Control V and just pick this, Control C and handle. So this will be start handle and handle of this bendy bone. So here first bendy bone spline, then here Control V, change to 0. Okay, now if I move this ESC, we see that they already start to have this sort of behavior. Do not edit those bendy bones without selecting these control points at once and without having median point transform pivot point option. Then let's go on pose mode, hold shift here, shift control C, stretch to bone constraint, same here, stretch to bone constraint. So now these handles are responsible for stretching the bendy bones, while this one is the original one, right? They are all working in sync now. Almost forgot here, folks, for bendy bones which start like this on edit mode straight, we would like to have vertex mapping straight. This is a new feature. And for bendy bones which already start like these ones, curved, so we want this curved option here. In principle, that should be better. Then select all. Let's turn off this deform property for all bones. Just I want the bendy bones to be deform bones in this bone layer. Let's select this. Let's go on edit mode. I'm going to duplicate this sequence and let's move this one to the mechanism bone layer, because I'm going to do a trick here. Once we have at least one bendy bone spline, we can easily duplicate it. Hold Control. Let's change here these names. Control F2 bones. Find and replace. Yes, let's change Control to mech, and also let's add def to mech, mechanism, MCH. And here these are incorrect, so let's fix that. Control C, Control V. Maybe bendy bone tongue. Alright. Let's change this target here. So at least I have the same options here, but let's augment this so they differentiate, same as this. So if I look at, so this is personal choice. Let's also make some change to their colors. Pose mode. Let's do this one first. So I want this to be red, and this, usually I use this color for the handles. And for this, they are all mechanism bones. Usually I use this color for mechanism bones, even the handles. I almost forgot. Stretch to. And so now you see this is an independent bendy bone spline. But we are missing something, right? The buffer bone. So let's pick this one, Shift D, select here and Alt. It is this one, right? Let's Shift S to selection to cursor. Let's change this to whatever. And here, how we'll align this? Well, could do like this, but I want to be very precise. So on pose mode, I will select first the mechanism bendy bone, shift select the buffer bone, which will be locked, shift control C to add a bone constraint, copy transforms, and a special use of copy transforms. We could use instead a copy location plus a copy rotation, not necessarily on this order, to differentiate a little better those transforms, but we can use this is safe. So you could use world spaces here or pose space. I think there's no difference for this case. mix replace, otherwise it will be a chaos. Here we want this option follow b-bone, and we want here to be exactly at the center. Well, I'm not sure exactly where will be the center, so what I can do instead, let's say I give 0.5 exactly in the center, is to build this other setup to match the mechanism setup. Yes. So what I do here, now that I have these settings, I will pose, apply, selected as rest pose. So this will make that this mechanism bone will have this exact positioning on edit mode as well from its state of bone constraints. Then I go on edit mode, I can set this location here. Let's pick this handle, and why not this tip 2, shift H to that location. Now this gets a bit messed up. Let's pick just this and match there, and here match here. And if I suspect that I've messed up the rows, then I can reset. Actually, I can have this bone selected, and okay, let's match this. Then let's select this with this, Control Alt A, which is armature transforms align bones, right? Then the bendy bone is aligned. You see the big Z there and the small z there, they are aligned. Alright, then I can just match here with hold Control. That's perfect. Then I can do the same here. Let's Control A, so it's aligned with its offset parent, and here. But because I've made those additions, I need to update here. Just reset this with backspace or just click here. Unfortunately, that doesn't work for simultaneous bones at once, so this is very annoying. Now you can make the optional tweak bones. There is a possibility, it's arbitrary, that maybe we can place them exactly in this position, or maybe here, or sometimes even in the middle of the tips. These offsettings, they are not really fundamental. I place everything at the heads of the handles. So let's start here. Select this bone's head there. Shift A, let's hide these two. Scale from origin. Here I want the tweak bones to be very thin and elongated. The axes seem to be right. Then for the colors of tweak bones, let's make this one. I'll call this tweak tongue 001. Edit mode, then Shift D for some reason. Oh, there are others. Alright, so B-bone tongue. Alright, then here, let's do this, and now for the parenting, I have skipped this because these tip bones now will go to the tweak, and then the tweak, on their turn, they go to the mechanism. From this condition, the rig is sort of already working a lot. We cannot pose this bone, but we can still pose the handles if we wanted. The deformed bones usually are not visible, nor the mechanism bones. So you see there's something weird about this tweak bone. You see what's happening? It's shearing. It's related to its parent, so no bone constraints, because it's parent to this mechanism bone here, which is then copying the transforms of this bendy bone through this bone constraint, 100% influence. So there are two ways to solve this. I won't recommend this one, relations, inherit scale, instead of full average, but instead I found another way, because it's getting these through bone constraints. Here for the mechanism tongue in the middle, we can just add after the copy transform a limit scale and set all these to local space. Then let's get a 1 value. Otherwise this starts happening. So this is more visual stuff, but it's interesting, right? And then to complete, let's go to the control bone layer and let's pick one of those twig bones, Shift D, duplicate. Then I can change the B-bone scale here. Maybe I make this like that. Then change on pose mode, viewport display, maybe this color. Then master F key tongue, edit mode, Shift D, master I key tongue. Then let's move this to control tongue. So I'm gonna parent these two. There are many other variations of setups that we can make. Feel free to explore. And this one parent to here. And we forgot one bone here, so this will be a generic deform layer, right? Here, let's ignore these details. So I gotta parent these two to be better if this was a control head bone, right? Or mechanism head bone, but that's fine. So another thing that might be interesting here to do is to either set this bone as a child of the other master so that we can have this F key thing, but then it's a powerful inbuilt relation. So instead we could, well, let's get the same parent back again, the deform head. We could get the master I key tongue, the fake I key master bone, to have a copy transforms to the one that was here, but we're gonna change this. It will be like a local space and a custom space. I will target the armature and I'll target the master F key tongue, this one, copy here. Instead of mix replace, I'm gonna place a before original. And so what happens is that this is mimicking this ballistic rotation. You see here? And I can still pose it, so it's a bit like as if it were parented. And I can still do something like that, but of course if I animate that, I could, yes, I could have some displacing here, but okay, different setup. So we can do this in different ways. This is interesting. So special case use of the copy transforms, owner with custom space. A little problem relates to the scaling. So this would scale everything. This twig bone will just scale this one, this, and this one won't scale anything. And this currently is not really scaling as we want. So what we can do, and I find this by doing this tutorial, if we pick all the bendy bones here and we go on the bendy bones panel, hold Alt, let's turn on these options for the X and Z axis, the lateral scalings of the bendy bone, and this is, so now we have more interesting scalings going on regarding the bendy bones. The twigs start to have some degree of influence, but not this one. So what we can do here perhaps is just to pick this one, Shift Control C, copy scale, then for this tip or handle, local space and offset, and so now you see I can scale that. Maybe that could be useful. It's good to have this control available from a twig bone, right? Can get either pose spaces or world spaces. Then when I scale the fake I key master here, we have everything just as this thing, right? Because this tongue is already rigged, this will be a little tricky. So what I think I can do is to Shift Control C. Let's investigate wave paint sample group. So there is this deft tongue bendy bone 1, and for this vertex here, yeah, I'm gonna reutilize these ones. Basically, I want the name of these deformed bones. Let's go here for the tongue, Shift Control X. We'll leave this vertex group. I'm gonna just change the vertex group here, and this one to 0, 2, so they will be transferred to the new rig. And there we go. And now we can pose this tentacle spline key like rig fake IK rig, right? And with all of those interesting controllers, mainly just these ones. That's all for now, folks. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe. If you enjoyed the content, feel free to comment. See you next time. Take care and happy blending.